Wars are remembered for heroic defenses, but sometimes the most powerful decision in war is not about fighting. It is about knowing when to let go. In 1940, Britain and France faced such a moment when an entire city was allowed to fall. On purpose. The year was 1940. World War II had entered a critical and terrifying phase. Germany had swiftly overrun much of Western Europe, leaving France on the brink of collapse. Paris, the cultural and political heart of France, stood in the path of the advancing German forces. Its streets were bustling with civilians, families fleeing in panic, and military advisors desperately calculating what could be done. The question was not one of courage or cowardice. It was a matter of survival, strategy, and preserving lives. Defend the city, and countless civilians would die. Allow it to fall, and the city, though occupied, would be largely preserved. By early June, German divisions were at the outskirts of Paris. French military leaders understood the grim reality. Paris had no modern fortifications, and any attempt to resist would involve street-to-street combat, artillery shelling, and inevitably, mass civilian casualties. The symbolic importance of the city was immense, but strategically, it could not be defended without complete destruction. Behind closed doors, British advisors quietly weighed in. The British Expeditionary Force had barely escaped Dunkirk weeks earlier, leaving resources stretched thin. Britain could not afford another battle where lives would be wasted and cities reduced to rubble. Time, resources, and human lives were all critical. Allowing Paris to fall, though politically sensitive, could save thousands and maintain the structural integrity of the city for the post-war period. The decision was made. Paris would be declared an open city. This meant no resistance, no defensive artillery fire, and no urban warfare. Civilians were evacuated where possible, but the streets remained largely intact, ready for occupation rather than destruction. On June 14, 1940, German forces entered Paris unopposed. To the public, it seemed like surrender, perhaps even humiliation. But in truth, it was careful calculation, a strategic choice aimed at minimizing loss and preserving the possibility of a future resistance. Public narratives later emphasized collapse, surrender, and defeat. The dramatic, heroic stories of resistance elsewhere dominated post-war memory. Yet the fall of Paris was neither failure nor cowardice. It was strategic triage, a decision made to protect lives and heritage in the midst of a rapidly collapsing front. The British role in this decision remained largely behind the scenes. Official histories would not discuss it at length, revealing that an entire capital was sacrificed for strategic reasons would have been politically damaging and difficult for morale. The story was quietly buried, left for historians to uncover decades later. The consequences of this decision were significant. Militarily, Paris survived intact. Its bridges, streets, and cultural landmarks remained. Germany gained the city, but not a bloody victory or symbolic destruction. Politically, France was divided. The Vichy government was established, and Britain gained the crucial time to fortify its own defenses for the coming Battle of Britain. The human impact was deeply complex. Thousands of civilians fled in panic. Families were separated, and many felt abandoned. Yet countless lives were spared precisely because the city was left intact. The streets were not torn apart by artillery. The hospitals were not obliterated. Paris's cultural heritage survived, and future generations would walk through the city, largely unharmed by war. This episode forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth about war. Victories are not always fought on battlefields. Sometimes the bravest decision is the one that leaves no monument, the one that cannot be celebrated, and the one that history might quietly forget. The fall of Paris is often remembered as surrender, but in reality, it was a choice, a calculated act of preservation. The city's survival allowed France, Britain, and the world to retain a piece of history that might otherwise have been destroyed. As we reflect on these moments, a question emerges. How many times in history have cities, lives, or moments been quietly sacrificed, not for glory, but to protect what truly mattered? How many victories remain hidden because they were never meant to be celebrated? History, in this case, reminds us that the most profound decisions are sometimes the silent ones, invisible to the eye, yet felt through generations. The fall of Paris was not a defeat. It was a lesson in restraint, strategy, and humanity amidst the chaos of war.